Gundam.tk presents RX-78-2 Gundam version 2.0. Hello everyone, and welcome to a new review of the Master Grade Gundam version 2.0. Now this kit is the newest version of the Gundam, and it came out in 2008, and of course it's made by Bandai. The retail price, if you're looking to buy it in a shop, is about 4,200 yen, and then there'll be tax on that, so you're looking at approximately, let's just say, $42 US. So what makes this a Gundam version 2.0? Well, very simply, Bandai will make a new Gundam every 2 or 3 years anyway, because the technology that goes into making these models just keeps getting better and better. So every time that they make a new model, the interior skeleton, etc., the joints, the posability, everything gets better. And a few years back, with the Zeta Gundam series, they decided that they've reached a point where master grades, which started in 1995, have reached a point now where they can call them 2.0, and I agree completely with that assessment. So people have been waiting a long time for the original Gundam, Amuro's original Gundam from the series' first Gundam, to get this 2.0 treatment. Now, let's see if it stacks up. Now for a tour around the box, the first thing that I think you'll notice about this Gundam is that they tried to make it as anime accurate as possible. Now for some people that's a good thing, and for some people that's a bad thing, because if you look at the old anime from the 70s, sometimes the Gundam looked pretty cartoony and the proportions were way off, and basically any of the newer mecha shows that you're going to see, the old Gundam, when you look at it, it has a very, very retro feel. And I think that that's something they tried to capture with this Gundam. Now something that makes a return to the Gundam is the core fighter. Now the core fighter has always been a part of Gundam, and it docks in the Gundam's chest, and the pilot can fly it as a separate vehicle. But a lot of Gundams recently, because it takes away from the actual quality of the model, have been taking it out. But in this case you can see that you get a core fighter, which you can transform into a core block and then actually put into the Gundam itself. And you can see that here, that you have a core block, and the top half of the Gundam can dock with the lower part of the Gundam. So as another plus of this, you get all the main weapons, and you get two figures, Amuro in civilian clothes and in his normal suit. Now where this 2.0 really shines, and unless you're a fan of building the skeleton, posability is a huge plus on this. So you compare it to any Gundam in the past, and you can do pretty much any pose that you can think of with this. Now a nice part about all the promotional material is that they've only been showing classic old pictures from the series. So whether it's Amuro cutting through Goose hands, or cutting off a Zaku's head, or ripping off his face pipe, anything that you can think of from the cartoon you'd be able to recreate with this. And this final shot here is everything that you get if you do this completely unpainted. And I think that this Gundam looks just perfect out of the box, even if you don't want to do any painting with it. So now taking a look at the sprues, you end up with sprues up to K, and the A sprue, which is always the most important sprue of a Gundam. This case it only comes with two colors, red and yellow, or orange you could almost say in this case. But something that's nice compared to other Master Grade Gundams is that often what they'll do is to sort of make it look a little less cartoony and a little more realistic, is they'll make this a darker blue. But in this case they went straight from the anime, and it's a very much a light baby blue, but it suits the Gundam pretty well. You're going to get two pink beam sabers. You get the parts to make a Gundam Hyper Hammer. So if you wanted to have the ultimate Gundam mace flying around in one of those poses, you could do that. And as a very nice touch, you get a clear stand for the core fighter, so you can display the core fighter separately. And something that Master Grades have not usually had is the Gundam, you can make a beam javelin, and they give you clear parts. So if you paint that in pink, you can have Gundam with his it's either very retro cool or very awful, depending on how you look at it, his beam javelin, which looks more like a trident. So what do you get when you open the box? Well, you get a nice instruction manual that has some great retro looking cover art. You get the chain for the Gundam Hyper Hammer. a postcard survey that you can send into Bandai, and of course you get Gundam seals, you get marking seals, and in a nice touch you get a bunch of decals as well. And you also get something that seems to be pretty unnecessary, but if you wanted to spend a lot of money, you could buy a Gundam beam saber. So another nice touch about this is that the manual is so detailed with tons of information, including backstory on the series, a bunch of good poses that you can copy later, a list of all of the weapons and parts, but something that's very impressive, and the reason why I wanted this Gundam 2.0, is if you look at that, you have a complete inner skeleton. Now, if you look at old master grades, especially if you look at the one from 1995, it's mostly hollow inside, whereas perfect grades were always known for their skeleton. But basically what the 2.0 has done is it's taken the original perfect grade and scaled it down from 1/60th to 1/100th. So you're going to get a fantastic inner frame, which we'll take a look at in a second. The instruction manual itself is very well done, very easy to follow, probably one of the easiest ones I've seen yet. Of course it's all in Japanese, but since you're just looking at pictures anyway, it doesn't really matter. It comes with the regular painting guide, and of course they always tell you to buy Gundam lining markers, because if you could do that, you can just make all of the colors pop a little bit more. Now something that I really liked about this is that they give you a list of all of the master grade Gundams in history. So starting in 95 you have the original master grade, then in 2000 you have the version 1.5, then you get the version Ka Toki Hajime, then you get a perfect Gundam, not to be confused with the perfect grade, and the 1 Year War version, which also came in an anime color version. So you're already looking at 5 old master grades, and this being the 6th, but I think that we'll see once it's all put together that this is going to be by far the best. So what you'll see right now in part 1 is the inner frame skeleton, which I've built up first, because this is half the fun of the version 2, is actually looking at the skeleton itself rather than the model. So let's take a look at each of the parts, and let's see how it looks put together. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, including a video review of the master grade version of the new Gundam, don't forget www.gundam.tk for this and lots more. Thanks again for watching, everybody.